The USA is basically a flawed democracy, and oh boy does it have a lot of flaws, such as the fact that they are fully capitalist, whether it is actually working for them or not. I mean, don't put all of your eggs in one basket, am I right? Yeah, okay. Even their justice system is flawed, due to the fact that in a lot of cases it's guilty until proven innocent. Even their so-called perfect political system is flawed. These might be bold statements, but they do have a lot of facts behind them. I argue that the USA isn't as perfect as they claim to be, and that they have a lot of flaws in their political and judicial system. During the Cold War, the USA was seen as a strictly capitalist side, and the Soviet Union, that being Russia, the strictly communist side. Luckily, neither side necessarily won the Cold War, and some even believe that it might still be ongoing. But something we can still observe today is that the USA is still fully capitalist, and that the Soviet Union is no more. We can reach the conclusion that capitalism won if we go by that logic. However, that doesn't mean the capitalism is perfect and communism is bad. This is where the don't put your eggs in one basket saying comes in. Because there are a lot of flaws with blind being 100% capitalist, such as the big gap between rich and poor, no rules protecting you from being fired from a job at random, and less equality in wealth, as well as how easy it is to end up bankrupt. That's a scary system, but it isn't the only scary thing about living in the USA, because the people who are supposed to protect you might end up doing the exact opposite. A great, or rather unfortunate example of this is Michael Dixon, an ordinary man who got accused by police and investigators for breaking into a jewelry store. As stated in the Hamilton News, on August 15, 2003, a black man named Michael Dixon was arrested at gunpoint for robbing a jewelry store in Hamilton. Why is this so special? Well, first of all, because he didn't do it. And secondly, because he so obviously didn't do it that it's unbelievable that he got time in jail. The following was said by JCS Criminal Psychology in his YouTube video Guilty Until Proven Innocent. The report described a short white man in black shorts and a white t-shirt, and police were chasing the robber down as well. After chasing him down the alleyway, they lost sight of him momentarily. At the same time, Michael Dixon got off a bus nearby. Was the first person the police saw when getting out of the alleyway, so they immediately arrested him at gunpoint. He didn't resist, but he said he was innocent. During his investigation, which lasted for 2 hours, the detective was unprofessional and said the evidence of him being guilty was simply conclusive and overwhelming. Well, Michael remained professional and calm. He even said that he was willing to help in any way he can with the investigation, but to no avail. The following is a video of Michael Dixon's interrogation, commented by JCS Criminal Psychology.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Michael. It's okay.
One could advocate this as a common policing misstep if it weren't for the suspect being described as a small white man in the 911 call. As well as not being white, Dixon is 6'3". This detective has either forgotten standard procedure to review the call to dispatch, or for some reason decided to reject it as evidence altogether. Michael is informed the room is being recorded and then read his rights. He asserts he is willing to speak with a detective and help with the investigation.
Okay, why we're here is because earlier tonight you were arrested for breaking into a jewelry store on John Street South. Now, your innocence and guilt in this, quite frankly, isn't an issue. The evidence I have is frankly conclusive and overwhelming. Okay, so I'm not even going to ask you if you did it. What I have to ascertain here is what kind of guy.
Situations like this are the reason even innocent people are often paranoid around the police. though this can easily be avoided if only the USA had a good enough police education and higher criteria for being allowed to be a police officer. Let's hope the president does something to change that. Speaking of president, now that the USA had their 59th presidential election, the world was eager to know how they vote for president, because one can win the election even though they didn't get the most votes. Well, how is that? The USA has kind of a weird system when it comes to choosing presidents. The people doesn't have the ability to vote for who they want directly. Instead, they have to vote for a selection of people who can vote for them in the electoral college. In the presidential election, it's not necessarily about having the most votes. It's about being the first to reach 270 electoral college votes. And some states give a lot more of these electoral college votes than others. This is how a president can win without the people choosing them as president. And this is the reason why the USA is ranked as a flawed democracy. The USA has mostly been seen as a superior country in every way until now. We are at a time where the USA is falling apart. People are rioting for whatever reason they can find. Breaking stuff, stealing, murdering each other, and so on. The government can't even do much about it because they do not have enough power. People seeing their presidential candidates as gods isn't really helping the situation either, because one of them are going to lose whatsoever. So in the worst case scenario, we might end up seeing a civil war. In conclusion, the USA isn't as great as they want you to think, and it has a lot of flaws. Being fully capitalist isn't always working too well, and can be really unfair to most people. If you take a look at the most successful countries in the world, you can see that they are often not strictly following one type of ideology. Take Norway, for example. They use a system called state capitalism, which is a mix of both socialism and capitalism. The government controls some of the economy, and the people control some of the economy. The government is like a responsible parent with a good and healthy relationship to their child, that being the Norwegian people. And most people are happy with that. And you could say the USA is like a bad parent with crippling debt and a bad relationship to their rebel child, that being the people again. And a lot of people complain. The judicial system can be unjust due to there not being good enough education, for example, police training. So irrational people can abuse their power and basically anyone can become a cop. Because the police isn't good at handling their job and some just abuse their power, are the reason why the US have over 2 million people in prison. With their whole ideology flawed and their justice system unjust, they also have a flawed political system that they call a perfect democracy, which the rest of the world is now seeing as a flawed democracy.